The Nationals offense exploded against the Minnesota Twins in yesterday's win, scoring 12 runs. What was the key to that? And also, is Mitchell Parker for real? He might be.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And again, while you're at it, make sure to look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Hit that subscriber button for us as well. Later on in today's show, we'll be previewing Game 2 of the Minnesota Twins series, as of course, Patrick Corbin is on the bump against right-handed pitcher Joe Ryan. You're going to want to watch this one because Patrick Corbin, when he's on the bump, it's usually not too good, but maybe you walk your way into a nice little win. We'll preview that in the third segment of today's show. And then, of course, in the second segment, Cade Cavalli made his first rehab assignment down in rookie ball in Florida and looked pretty damn good. And also, there's a little bit of an update on Lane Thomas we'll have in the second segment of today's show, as Cade Cavalli and as well as Lane Thomas could be making their way back up to the Washington Nationals, hopefully within the next month or so, maybe even earlier than that for some of them. So we'll discuss that in the second segment of today's show. But we got to get it started with talking about this Nationals offense finally exploding for 12 runs against the Minnesota Twins. And this was not against some low-level pitcher. This was against, Pablo Lopez, who has kind of dominated the Nationals over the years when he was with the Miami Marlins and now with the Minnesota Twins. But the Nationals, they took advantage of him. And before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. And the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is PrizePicks. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is PrizePicks.com/LockedOnMLB. So as the Nationals kind of got into it yesterday, I thought that this was going to be a very tough game again for all the reasons that were stated. Pablo Lopez has had some success against this Nationals team in years past, but the Nationals, they exploded. And this is kind of what you want it to look like. This is the dream scenario if you are a Nationals fan. The Nationals have always struggled this year with their offensive category. I mean, we did not really expect them to struggle as much as they kind of have. And really, the starting pitching in the bullpen as well has really carried the load for the Nats so far in 2024. Now you have the offense kind of clicking and firing on all cylinders. And even more importantly, you have guys who have not really been in the lineup every single day, like Cade Ruiz, adding 2 hits, 2 runs in yesterday's game as well. He has his batting average back up to 165 and a 447 OPS. But Cade Ruiz, seeing him kind of get in the game, having a double, an extra base hit as well, Cade Ruiz, this is the kind of guy that we expected him. He is all the way back down to 8th in the order. And really, if we're being honest, that's the way that it probably should be. But you also have someone like a Luis Garcia who has not really been himself lately. Early on this season, we were talking about him batting over 300. He had an OPS around 850. He was killing the baseball, and it felt like he was clicking on all cylinders. He got a little bit off to a slow start over the last few weeks here, and now he even picks it up as well, adding a home run in yesterday's game, 3 RBIs in total, and 2 hits as well. Luis Garcia and Cade Ruiz, if you have these two guys who have a lot of potential at the plate, this is when the Nationals offense can really just take advantage of teams, especially some that may not have the best offensive performances. But we all know the Minnesota Twins, they're a lot better than what they've really kind of showed on paper so far this season. But now with all that said, though, if this Nationals team clicks on all cylinders, this is the kind of performance that you can expect. Because again, Mitchell Parker kind of come out of nowhere, a 5th-round pick just a few years ago. Mitchell Parker is not really someone who's supposed to be as good as he's been so far this season, but in yesterday's contest, going 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, he did give up that big home run, but he's now got an ERA of 3.32 on the season. Mitchell Parker has been one of the most pleasant surprises so far in 2024. We all thought that he could be pretty good. He led the Nationals minor league system in strikeouts just a handful of seasons ago. But Mitchell Parker was not supposed to be this good. You were not expecting him to be a middle of the rotation arm the way that he's been so far through his big league career. And again, it's been pretty early on, only about 5 starts so far in 2024. But Mitchell Parker has been one of the better surprises so far in 2024 outside of CJ Abrams and even outside of Luis Garcia, who's in that pile as well. But now you have all these things that are firing on all cylinders, and this is the important stuff. This is what the Nationals want. This is the dream scenario if you're Davey Martinez. This is the dream scenario if you're Mike Rizzo. If you have all these things clicking, then you have a performance of what you had yesterday. Because again, something that has been pretty durable so far this season has been the Nationals bullpen. If you can get 6 innings out of your starting pitcher, and then you go to Derek Law, Dylan Floro, Hunter Harvey, Kyle Finnegan, who had the day off yesterday, by the way, which is always a great sign. If you get to those guys, you're kind of A bullpen pieces there. That is a huge step forward for the starting staff, and as well as Davey Martinez in the way that he kind of poorly utilizes his bullpen, if we're being honest at times. We've seen it time and time again for Davey Martinez, but still, you can now try to think about what could be down the road if you were to have all these things firing on all cylinders. Listen, this is not an easy job for Davey Martinez. But one thing is for sure about him is the way that he has utilized his bullpen so far during the first 2 months of the season probably hasn't been the most durable way. He's never really been all too great utilizing the bullpen. If you look back in 2019, he was pretty flawless down the stretch there in the second half of the season, all the way up and through the World Series of Game 7 there. But still, ever since then, it just has not been good. But also on the other hand of this, there is another side of the coin. What does he have? What does Davey Martinez have to kind of just put guys out there who could be something? Because again, the Nationals bullpen in years past, it has not been good. You've seen guys like Amos William out there, fine prospect, but still, that's not really a winning scenario for Davey Martinez. You have a lot of like these low-level kind of guys who have been out there, and now you have this revamped bullpen. You've had guys like Hunter Harvey develop. You've had guys like Kyle Finnegan develop. You've got guys like Dylan Floro, a veteran piece that comes in and has pitched damn well. Derek Law, who has come in, pitched very well as well. There are a lot of different things that are going well for this Nationals team. But still, now you have all these things. Again, the offense is clicking. When the pitching is clicking, all the different things that go into winning baseball games, that is the better Nationals team, obviously. But still, when you have guys like Keibert Ruiz adding a handful of hits, when you have Joey Gallo getting on base, when you have Luis Garcia mashing at the plate, these are the good things that you can expect. These are the scenarios in which you can win baseball games with. Because again, this has always struggled with the Nationals. This just simply has not happened in quite some time now. You have the Nationals offense who goes in there, scores 12 plus runs, and it's not just because of CJ Abrams. It's not just because of Lane Thomas in years past, which we saw last year. In the last 2 years, he's been the Nationals organizational player of the year, which he should have been, by the way. There's all these different things, and it's really, I look at it and I'm like, well, what's different? Keibert Ruiz getting on base, Luis Garcia getting on base, guys like Trey Lipscomb when he was back in the majors getting on base, multi-hit games from Jacob Young, again, Keibert, Jesse Winker adding to the mix as well. All these different things. And again, you have to kind of think to yourself, if the Nationals can play this kind of baseball for 162 game pace, they'd be a lot better team, obviously. But still, it's got to be more consistent. Now, at the end of the day, are you going to be thinking that this is the Nationals team to expect all season long? No. But still, you can kind of sit back and dream about it because they have shown that they are capable of doing this, especially with the way that you have these starting pitchers pitching right now. Again, Trevor Williams said it best the other day. Sean Doolittle, in the way that he has done with this pitching staff, he has done a ton for this team. A ton, and you see it. And I want you guys to notice this as well. As soon as the pitchers get pulled out, whether it's Mitchell Parker, whether it's Jake Irvin, Mackenzie Gore, whoever it is, notice this. Sean Doolittle talking with the pitching staff, or really whoever the starting pitcher is that day, he is always right there as soon as they get pulled after innings, talking with the pitchers, He has been the brains behind this madness, in my opinion, as far as the starting pitching goes. I think that is why you've seen a huge turnaround with this Washington Nationals team. And of course, as well as guys like Mitchell Parker. And now you also have the Nationals offense that is exploding. And speaking of explosions, Lane Thomas and of course, Cade Cavalli. They are back rehabbing with the organization. Where are they headed? What happened with Cade Cavalli? We'll discuss that a little bit later on in today's show. But before we move on, I got to tell you guys about our very good friends over at LinkedIn. And guys, when we talk about LinkedIn, you need to know that are you struggling to close deals? Because B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers and drive higher revenue and increase sales performance, because Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with people that matter. So right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. Now we get back into it, as the Washington Nationals have been pretty hot here recently. You've talked about the offense. We talked about the pitching staff, but you still have some reinforcements coming that is not named James Wood, by the way, which Nationals call him up. It's any time now. We would love to see James Wood roaming the outfield up in Half Street there in Washington, D.C. But now you have some more reinforcements coming. Lane Thomas and Cade Cavalli, they have each started their rehab assignments, and Lane Thomas will be starting today in Harrisburg in AA after having that really kind of nasty knee injury just back about a month ago. Lane Thomas got off to a very slow start here in DC just this last month here. Lane Thomas, at this point, you kind of have to think to yourself, he might be playing for his job at this point. That might sound insane to say, but when you have someone like James Wood coming up in the majors, when you have Jacob Young playing the way that he has been playing so far this season, you have to kind of think to yourself, there will be an odd man out. Is it going to be Jesse Winker? Is it going to be Lane Thomas? Is it going to be Jacob Young? It'll probably be Jacob Young or Jesse Winker ahead of Lane Thomas, because again, Lane Thomas has been one of the team captains of this team. He's been the clubhouse leader. And again, while the Nationals have been in this rebuild, he's been one of the shiny, bright spots of this team. And again, last year, the way that he played should have been an all-star. We all know that. But still, Lane Thomas is going to be coming back here probably within the next few weeks. His 30-day window will be opening here tonight when he plays for Harrisburg. I would be interested to see what he does, because again, as he kind of gets acclimated back to playing every single day, you got to see how that knee is going to hold up. And again, when you are a good outfielder the way that Lane Thomas is, how will it affect his range? How will it affect his hitting? How will it affect his base running, which, by the way, he got off to a hot start stealing the bases this season, which we all knew he was capable of. But last year never really showed that tool in his bag. And really over the last few years, he kind of held himself back a little bit. But now with this Nationals team, the way that they have been running, the way that they terrorize the base path, when you have someone like Jacob Young out there, this is kind of the way that the Nationals have been winning. I think Lane Thomas might potentially kind of be the odd man out. They're going to take their time to see if he can get back to 100%, get back to his full strength, and see if he can kind of fix the swing that he really didn't have so far to start this season. Again, let's reiterate this point. He was off to a very slow start, very slow for his standards. We haven't seen this in quite some time from him because, again, he's been so consistent throughout his career, but he starts tonight in Harrisburg. Can he bounce back? We'll have to see what the Nationals do with him moving forward. But I want to talk about Cade Cavalli here as well, because he made his first start since last spring training when he had Tommy John surgery, hurt his elbow there, obviously. It was a just devastating injury for Cade Cavalli. But again, let's reiterate this point. Cade Cavalli at one point in time was a top 50 prospect in all of baseball, was one of the better pitching prospects in all of baseball at one point. He was a 2020 first-round pick out of the University of Oklahoma, struck out a ton of players. He had the curveball. He's got the electric fastball. I didn't get to see any of his fastball data or even his curveball data and kind of see how those pitches were looking. I would have to think he wasn't up in the hundreds like he was just last year, or even 2 years ago in AAA Rochester. But Cade Cavalli in his first innings back, 2 2/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. And again, his first start since spring training of 2023. Now, here's the thing with Cade Cavalli. Kind of along the same lines of Lane Thomas, I'm not rushing Cade Cavalli back. In fact, I would not be upset to see Cade Cavalli spend some time in AAA and kind of get acclimated again before making the jump to the major leagues. Because again, his 30-day window has opened. The Nationals do have the opportunity to get him up in the major leagues by midway through June, which has kind of been their timetable. But at this point, the way that the starting staff has been going, do you really kind of want to mess with the flow of this? Because a lot of people would say, well, Patrick Corbin, that's the easy fix there. He's gone. You put him in the bullpen. I don't see the Nationals putting a $35 million arm in the bullpen at this point. They know what Patrick Corbin is doing out there. They understand that it has not been all that great. I don't think the Nationals will pull the plug on him now. If you were going to pull the plug on Patrick Corbin and put him in the bullpen, you probably would have done that 2 to 3 years ago. At this point in time, would it make sense? Yeah, it would. But it also would make sense 3 years ago to not have him in this rotation. I don't think the Nationals will do that to someone who is on the 2019 World Series team. And Davey Martinez is a very loyal manager, as we've seen in years past. I don't see them just kind of pulling the plug on him and saying, well, that's it. I just don't see it happening. And again, with Patrick Corbin, I'm not really sure what to expect with him moving forward, but he should be the odd man out. And again, it's not even just Cavalli who will be coming back. It'll also be Josiah Gray. When Josiah Gray comes back, you now have 2 arms, which Gray will be in the rotation no matter what once he's healthy. But now you have Cade Cavalli, again, one of your best right-handed pitching prospects who will be coming back here hopefully soon. You would have to think, what will this mean for the next guys? What does it mean for Mitchell Parker? What does it mean for Jake Irvin? Because I feel like at this point, Jake Irvin should be a solidified arm who should not be in the back of the bullpen. I think Mitchell Parker, even at this point as well, should be in the starting rotation. He has proven enough to me to keep him in there, and he's been one of the brighter spots again so far this season. One of the breakout guys in this organization. You have to think, what are the Nationals going to do? Are they going to go to a 6-man rotation and maybe leave one of the guys like Mitchell Parker, option him down to AAA, and see if he can come back later on in the season and make an impact? Trade Patrick Corbin at the deadline for a baseball? I don't know what the Nationals will do at this point. I don't know what the next step is. But if it was up to me, the answer is right there in front of you. You got to have some sort of relief when it comes to Patrick Corbin. You got to put him in the bullpen at some point in time. Because again, when you have guys like Mackenzie Gore, who will be there, Josiah Gray, Cade Cavalli, Jake Irvin, Mitchell Parker, and of course, someday, Josiah Gray when he is healthy. You have all these different pieces that are going into this rotation that mean a lot to you. And of course, Trevor Williams as well. I think I mentioned Josiah Gray there twice, but you understand the point. You're not going to be taking Trevor Williams out of this rotation at this point. He's been playing way too well. He's been a Cy Young candidate if we're really going to be breaking it down to the nitty-gritty stuff. You're not going to be taking any of those guys out. The only one that makes sense is Patrick Corbin. So will the Nationals pull the plug on him? If I were to place a bet right now, I just don't think they will. And it's not because I don't think they should. It's because I think they're too loyal to a fault. And Patrick Corbin just falls in those lines where I don't think the Nationals will do something to him just at this point in time. It does not really make sense for them. I don't know why it doesn't make sense because, again, when you go out there with Patrick Corbin, like you'll see him tonight, you kind of know what to expect. It's not going to be all that pretty. And you're going up against a good Minnesota Twins offense, you tell me what the result's going to be. I can tell you right now, might not be all that great. But again, that's why you have a game preview of tonight coming up next when we talk about the Nationals Game 2 preview as the Nationals won 12-3 yesterday. Now you play against Minnesota Twins again. Joe Ryan against Patrick Corbin. We'll discuss that a little bit later on after we tell you guys about our very good friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, we talk about PrizePicks. I want you to know that, of course, spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Get on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. And of course, basketball postseason has started, but there is baseball tonight, and PrizePicks even offers injury insurance so that if your entries stay in play, even if one of your players get injured for baseball games, you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances, you can get more or less on PrizePicks, and they'll have your back if you don't have that at a loss. And of course, Patrick Corbin going against tonight, I'm going to take less on the strikeouts, and maybe you have Luis Garcia more on his hits. You can do that with our friends at PrizePicks. And of course, I love it so much because you have all these different stat types with PrizePicks. I want you guys to have the fun that I have had so far this baseball season, and even the basketball season as well. There's so much out there with our friends at PrizePicks. So all you have to do is download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is download the app, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, the Nationals take on the Minnesota Twins again today as they have game 2 of this series. You have Patrick Corbin against Joe Ryan of the Minnesota Twins. And of course, you might be wondering, well, have the Nationals really faced Joe Ryan all too much in their career? No. There have been 5 combined at-bats against Joe Ryan so far for the Washington Nationals. That comes with Joey Gallo. That comes with Eddie Rosario. And also Jesse Winker, guys who are still new to the organization, who have not been here for more than a cup of coffee. Other than that, you don't really have all too much to expect. But now you have Patrick Corbin going on the bump tonight, who has faced guys like Byron Buxton in the past, who has actually had some relative success. But still, we all know that this Minnesota Twins lineup, they could be a little bit scary at times. You've seen them kind of go quiet here recently, but still, over the course of a season, I expect this Twins team to be a lot better than what they have really showed. They're 24-23 on the season so far. They are 3rd in the AL Central against a little bit of a surprising, decent AL Central division here, but I expect them to get back on track. And again, Joe Ryan has been one of the better pitchers for the Twins so far this season, has a 3.57 ERA, 58 punchies, 2-3 record going up against Patrick Corbin, who has a 5.59 ERA, and we kind of know what to expect when it comes to patty cakes up on the bump there. But going forward, again, the Nationals have to control what they can control. If you can get 4 to 5 runs of offensive support, that's what it's going to take when you have Patrick Corbin on the bump, because he'll probably go 4 innings pitched. He'll give up 4 earned runs. He'll walk 2 batters. He'll strike out 3 batters. Other than that, it's going to be up to the bullpen, shutting it down for 5+ innings. You have your Kyle Finnegan. You have your Hunter Harvey. You've got really most of your A guys going for today's game. And when, by the way, you're going to need it, because in yesterday's game, you used Dylan Floro. Are they going to use them back-to-back days? I don't really know up to this point. But again, your A bullpen is there. You got support. Can the Nationals take advantage of a good pitching staff with the Minnesota Twins? I guess we'll just have to see with that said. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, enjoy tonight's game. I will catch you guys on tomorrow's Locked On Nationals. Until then, enjoy tonight's game. Have a good one.